Once again, we are here. Welcome to another episode of Becca's Talking Podcast. I really do appreciate you liking this, sharing it, subscribing, all the stuff you do. Every Tuesday at 10 a.m., we release a brand new podcast, and where we talk about interesting topics, a little bit of something different every time, and got a real, very interesting conversation going on here about homelessness. But before we get to that, we must do the work of the sponsor and talk about my friends over at Havana Garage. Havana Garage in the Old Market. I've been there for a long time. Now, it's a cigar bar. Yeah, granted, it's a cigar bar, but you don't have to be a cigar smoker to enjoy it. You know, just the atmosphere there. It's got the old Sinatra-style atmosphere, you know, the Brat Pack, and you got Dean, and you got Sammy, and Peter Lawford, and all that. Plus, they've got a great selection of cocktails and just a nice, relaxed atmosphere where you can go and have a business meeting and go and before you go out to see a concert or maybe a play or just have dinner in the Old Market, make Havana Garage part of your evening. Havana Garage in the Old Market. And by the way, when you stop in, tell them I heard about it on the podcast, if you would be so kind. My guest is Candace Gregory. She is the person that's in charge of the Open Door Mission, homeless mission here in Omaha. And homelessness is an issue that is going to be a big issue in an upcoming mayor's race, but it's an issue everywhere, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And I want to talk about Open Door Mission later, but I want to start off by saying, from your experience, what would you say is the number one cause of homelessness?
Yeah. The reasons why people experience homelessness are as diverse themselves. And I think if we just have to look around our community and we can see the diversity, even at our organization last year, we served over 100 different languages at our homeless prevention programs. So just the diversity. But we do see common factors in people that are experiencing homelessness. Mental health. We see 1 in 4 in our America that are struggling with mental health challenges. Then put the trauma of experiencing homelessness on top of that. Almost 60% of those that we serve are experiencing mental health challenges. And there is not enough mental health beds in our community. There hasn't been since I started. I've been here 30 years. I've been on the streets 30 years, Tom, serving.
How did you get into that line of work?
My education is social work, my undergraduate social work, my master's is business, and my PhD is humanitarian studies. I always wanted to work with people. I just grew up in family business and thought, well, I'll do a little of both. And it just didn't work out that way. This became my passion.
Okay, so you've been there for quite some time.
Yes. I worked under Pastor Bob Timberlake for a number of years, and I was on the program side, developing programs for men, women, and children under his leadership. And when he passed away of brain cancer, I moved over to the business side of the ministry.
All right. Now, so mental health is an issue that we've done podcasts on mental health. And actually, I did a podcast. If you haven't checked it out, go check out the history of our podcast. And I went on the road. I went on the street with a camera. And I interviewed the people on the street corner with the cardboard signs, you know, the We'll Work for Food guys. And one of them even admitted that it was, that he said, I'm just crazy, you know. But other ones were talking about drug and alcohol issues. That was a big factor.
There is a huge. Yeah. There's about 6 common factors that we see in commonalities across all, homelessness doesn't discriminate. And so we see it in all different cultures, all different ages, all different colors, and it come through our doors. We see, yes, the mental health challenges. There is real chemical substance addiction issues. Alcohol continues to be the number one drug choice and in our community. It's legal and it's cheap, let's be honest. But it's a gateway to other drugs that, and quite frankly, lip sensation drugs are on the rise in our community, and they start younger. And then you have the whole heroin, and then you have prescription drugs. And so it's a wide gamut of what we're dealing with addiction. And it's not just chemical substance. We have gambling. Who would have thought if my fluffy self can get to the casino within 2 minutes of my campus, you can bet someone else can too. And yet we continue to build things in areas where we serve high risk people, and provide a bus line for them too to get there. Yeah. So we've seen an increase in gambling addiction as well. We also see a lack of safe, affordable housing. Tom, we have done nothing since COVID We just kind of sat back, and post-COVID, we are so far behind when it comes to safe, affordable housing.
You know, when you say we as a city, not you as the Open Door Mission.
No, I want to be part of the solution. Mm-hmm. I want to come. I'm in the sandbox. I'm playing. We're building, but I can't be the only one. This is a collaborative effort. We see the most success when it's faith, government, individuals, business, all collaborating together. That's when we see the best effects and measured outcomes. We see education still plays a big part, Tom. We see that almost 60% of our adults have less than a grade 6 education and cannot read and write past grade 2.
Really?
When we took the trades out of our public schools, we did a disservice to people because not everybody is fit for college. Mm-hmm. That's not everybody's passion to go to school for another 4, 6, and 8 years. People can work with their hands after we get them clean and sober. We have a lot of success in our Journey to Work programs, but why can't we have that back in junior high and high school? Why? You know, we see also that domestic violence continues. It's not just during the sporting events. I know we talk about domestic violence during Super Bowl and all those great things, but domestic violence is every day in our community. 50% of our women and children are victims of domestic violence. It takes a woman 7 times to leave for good, and that's too much risk for those women and children.
When you say it takes them 7 times, they keep going back.
Absolutely.
They keep going back. And even I've interviewed other homeless people throughout my career, and I've talked to some that really say, look, I like being homeless. I can be drunk the whole time. I don't have to worry about answering to a boss. I get a free sandwich, and I'm good. You know, I can stand on a street corner, make $50, and, you know, and they actually... That was their comfort zone. Talking to some of these people at home, which is just beyond my comprehension in any way, shape, or form. But for some of these people, that's their comfort zone, isn't it?
That's reality. We do have people that choose to be in our streets. A lot of times we get calls for a well check for someone, and we go and we check and we offer, would you like to come inside? No, not today. Now, maybe there'll be a lucid moment and it will be the right time. That's why we do street ministry in our community. But Tom, we have to stop enabling people too. When we give people money to stand on the street corner, and they use that to go and support their addiction, we're not helping them, we're enabling them. We're not empowering them, and we're costing us as taxpayers more dollars because we give them $5 and then they get in a fight with Johnny on the corner over that corner, and they end up tying up 2 law enforcements that have to book them over fighting, right, and causing a disturbance. Or even worse, they fall, cut themselves. Now they got lacerations. They got to be driven to the hospital. They don't have insurance. Last year, our clinic alone diverted almost 800 patients from the ER that didn't have insurance. We saved with our care in our clinic with over 300 volunteers, $2.2 million for taxpayers paying at the ER. Per insurances for people who don't have insurance. So we really have to think about that $5 that we gave Johnny on the corner because it's really costing us more.
I remember years ago you told me, and I've told this story to many people over the time. You told me, you said, never give money to the people on the street corner because if you look at them, 9 times out of 10, they've got a really nice pair of shoes. Because you know they're going to be on their feet all day. I mean, that's you know, they're not
always look.
Yeah, you're not really helping them because that's sort of what they're doing.
It's their job.
Yeah,
let's be honest. Yeah. It's their job, and we're not giving them opportunity when we enable them. Empowerment's all about opportunities. You know, I get to serve 917 people every day that choose to walk through our doors because they want opportunity. Mm-hmm. And that's what we get to provide for them.
If there is such a thing as an amusing homeless story, for my nephew's high school graduation, I took him to Chicago to a Cubs game, right? Mm-hmm. And, he was a, Millard North kid, and so he had been kind of a sheltered life. We're downtown Chicago, and he's seen these homeless people, with, begging for money and stuff. And I told him, I said, no, we don't give these people money. I said, I give money to charities that help out the homeless. And then I said, but we don't just give the panhandler, right? So we went to I forget one of the big deep dish pizza places, right? And we didn't eat the whole pizza, so we're taking the pizza back to the hotel. And we walked past one of these guys, and he had a hungry please help sign, and my nephew said, Uncle Tom, he said, I know you said we can't give him money. I said, but we don't need this pizza. Can I give him this pizza? And I said, yeah, Matt, give him the pizza. So we walked over there very innocently, very, heart, was in the right place. Goes and says, sir, here, have this pizza. And the guy said to it, get away, kid, I'm allergic to cheese.
Yeah.
It was that was a real wake-up call for him, where he just saw, okay, this is what this is, and it's sad, but it's also, it's a part of, I guess it's a part of life, right? I mean,
I think there is a part of us that we want to do good.
Yeah.
We want to help someone else. We feel grateful for everything that we have. And I think that's why we have such a generous community here in Omaha and Southwest Iowa. We see over 14,000 volunteers that donate 2 hours of their time on our campus. It's not sustainable without volunteers. We can't do the 12-step programs, serving the meals, running the classes, the life skill classes, doing baby buddies, all these things without volunteers. And part of that is we have to educate people. Unless God tells you to give someone something, you could give to 140 other organizations that are serving the hungry and homeless in our community, and you would be making sure that you're being a good steward of your funds.
Yeah, there are a lot of great charities out there, like you said, that are out there helping homeless and those less fortunate, food banks and the like that you can do, and really make a difference there for people that really want to help themselves. And that's it too. I mean, you've got to, there are times that people have been down on their luck, but they have to want to get out of that.
Absolutely. Right now, today is the opening day, and all week you'll have the No Address movie. We premiered that with 4 showings because it has true factual stories about people living on our streets in America today. And although these are stories of Jimmy and Violet and Harrison, and there are stories right here in our own community, Tom, that we have people living in homeless encampments and in cars and in crack alley, in abandoned buildings because we don't have enough housing for them. And we are seeing a high rate of youth that are out on our streets committing sex acts to provide for themselves. They're aging out of foster care. The issues are complex.
And we don't want to deal with complexity. We want easy answers.
I wish it was as easy as just giving them a job and a home.
Yeah.
Somebody told me that a long, long time ago. Just get them a house. Just get them a home. Well, if rapid rehousing would work, and then we would do that. It doesn't work. It's a revolving door because you need supportive services. If it worked to just get them a job, we would do that, Tom, but they have to have the skill set to get the job, the livable wage. And by the way, they need to know that you show up and you have to be in clean hygiene, and you can't tell your boss off with F-bombs and keep your job or not come to work and get paid. So you have to start where people are at and then build up.
You mentioned mental health. That's been a thing for me for quite some time. I've done some volunteer work out of the state pen, and I look at these guys, and there are so many guys that I met in the state pen that are good people. They just did some bad things.
Yeah.
And I think that if there had been more mental health opportunities for them, maybe they would not have gotten into that trouble. Maybe they would have been able to,
Absolutely. People self-medicate themselves because they don't have the right answers, the right diagnosis. It's much cheaper to have, a beer and to actually have a joint or have marijuana, or it just is, than to address. You're talking about hardcore here when you have to address your mental health, because then you're getting into therapy and medications that the medications have a lot of side effects and other things don't.
Yeah. So I know that with Open Door Mission, you're a faith-based organization.
We are a faith-based organization, although we are faith-based. All of our services are open to anyone in need, and we don't mandatory any of our religious offers. In fact, I'm the only place in Omaha a same-sex family can seek shelter together without even being split up and say the dad going over here and the mom going here. We serve 2-parent families.
Oh, really? Okay.
We're the only place that has gender-neutral rooms. A lot of people that are in the LGBTQI population that experience homelessness have a lot of guilt and shame. They don't have great relationships with family or might not have a support system. And so a gender-neutral room keeps them safe.
Interesting. But as I understand it, they have to be sober. No drugs or alcohol, right? I mean, I'm not saying that like it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that's one of the conditions, right?
You are correct. When you come into our facility at intake time, if you're under the influence, we're going to ask you to sleep it off, maybe in our infirmary. If you don't blow high enough in the breathalyzer and it's safe, we'll let you sleep it off in the bunkhouse. But you're going to have a meeting in the morning. It's called Donuts with the Director. You know what else it's called? Little come to Jesus meeting.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to stay with us, Tom, we're 100% supported by the community. So we have a fiscal responsibility. We have a financial responsibility to be a good steward of how the community supports us. And that doesn't mean that you can stay here and continue to actively use.
What percentage would you say does it come to Jesus meeting work?
You know, it's interesting. You know, some people are motivated by a lot of different things. Sometimes they just get sick and tired of being sick and tired. Other times they're motivated by their children because they're isolated from them. Other times they are not motivated and they choose to leave. You know what? Yeah, it's not my time. I'm not going to. And we respect that. Can we give you a drive to somewhere safe that you can stay? We don't want to force anybody. But amazingly, having some guidelines in place keeps everybody safe when you're serving 1,000 people on your property. Our campus just does not have emergency shelter. We have 40 programs we offer for free to the community. So we have animal therapy, art therapy. We do homeless prevention, where people can come once every 30 days and have a consumer choice food pantry, diapers, toiletries. So we have to keep a safe environment on our campus.
What, you said 1,000 people?
917 safe shelter beds on our campus for men, women, and children. We then offer permanent supportive housing. In fact, that was a collaborative effort with NYFA and other businesses in our community. And we have actually 43 2- and 3-bedroom apartments. And actually, as a landlord, I've got 100% rent roll. I don't know how many can say that, but I do. And those are formerly homeless people. We then have...
I'm sorry, what do you mean 100% rent rule? What?
Rent roll? That means they pay their rent on time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Imagine that.
Yeah.
And people said, Candace, you're going to lose your shirt on that project. You're going to rent to formerly homeless people? And yeah, I am. And we are. And we've had, in the last 5 years, we've had 8 families save enough to be first-time homeowners. I have about 26 parents that are going to school to further their education. Almost 50% are working. Others are on assisted living because of disability or veterans. And they may not go to another type of living than this PSH. But guess what? They are living a productive life and contributing back to the community.
I know that in this mayor's race,
yes.
that one of the candidates, Mike McDonald, has suggested just having like a compound of tents and that for the homeless.
Yes.
Mayor Stothard says that's a bad idea.
It is.
It is a bad idea?
It is.
Why?
I've never seen it work in 30 years. I've been to Skid Row in L.A. I speak all over the country on homeless and poverty and prevention. Been to San Diego. I've been to Seattle. I've been to Portland. I've been to some of the cities, Dallas recently. I'll speak in Dallas in a couple of weeks. That does not work primarily because when you put people in that area with no structure, no guidelines, it becomes a third world country. Mm-hmm. People start defecating outside. They start garbage collects. It stinks. I just have not seen it work, Tom. I have not. I would like to see more support for emergency shelters where it can be wraparound services. That's where it works. When people come into our facility and at intake time, they have the opportunity to have a mental health evaluation, a chemical dependency evaluation. They get stabilized for 72 hours where they can have their physical needs met. They're assigned a case manager to work with them on strength-based goals, where they have somebody that can network with them and be an advocate, peer support. Those things work, but we need more support in our emergency shelters with supportive services. We can't do it all ourselves.
You mentioned 917 beds at your facility.
But I'm not the only one.
I'm not going to say. How many?
We network with 9 other shelters that offer services in the Omaha Southwest community, and we all don't have enough support. And I am not in favor of creating a homeless encampment and wasting taxpayers' money on that. I'm in strong support of supporting the wraparound services in our emergency shelters that already exist, because the homeless grapevine knows where to go to get those services.
You say that
there's just not enough.
Yeah. You say that you're 100% donation supported?
Correct.
So no government?
Mm-mm. I raise $34 million every year annually from the generosity of the community, and 90 cents of every donation goes directly to guest services. If the government could do that with the money that they have, can you imagine what our city would look like differently?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's well, first of all, that does say a lot about this community. Omaha, philanthropically, is just an amazing community.
Absolutely.
No matter whether it's homelessness or the arts or whatever. I mean, it is
true.
a great community.
If you can tell your story and you can share the outcomes of people's lives, I don't want to talk about the 2 million meals I served last year. I want to talk about the people who ate those 2 million meals. Let's talk about their lives, because that's where real transformation happens.
I would think, and this is maybe just me, but I would have a tough time doing like what you do, only in that it would just get me down so much. Mm. Do you have to go and focus on the success stories? Because I know that you deal with people that are, continuously homeless. They'll go.
Heartbreaking.
They'll go and maybe they'll get a job for 6 months and then they'll be back on the street and they'll.
I have to focus on the positive. I have to always see the glass half full, and I have to remember that almost 50% of our team at the Open Door Mission have lived experience. That means that they actually walked where our people that we're serving have walked. They've battled their demons. They've broken the cycle. They've gone back to school. They've furthered their education, and they're on our team. And I have to focus on that part, that we change lives one person at a time. I can't look at those big numbers because it's too overwhelming, Tom.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Mm-hmm. I would imagine so. I don't know. I'm looking for solutions here.
Me too.
And I don't know that, like you said, mental health, but they have to want to get mentally healthy.
Correct.
And too many times, I mean, focus on the ones that do want to, I guess, as opposed to the ones that get off their meds or just feel comfortable living like that.
Unfortunately, we do not have enough mental health beds in our community. We just have to be honest. We do not. And so people are discharged without having the proper stability and care. We don't have enough support services in our community, Tom, when we closed all of the institutions and thought, all the families and we'll take care of, we're not equipped to do, and so that's not the right answer.
Now, do you work with the other homeless shelters?
We do.
I mean, because you're, like I said, you're faith-based. A lot of these others are not.
Yeah.
But do you
We have a great relationship. We collaborate together. We have each other's cell phones. If someone doesn't work well, if Deshaun doesn't work well in our program, maybe he'll work well in the Sienna Francis or Stevens Center one. Mm-hmm. And so we're ding-a-ling, hey, Deshaun is not doing well in our program. Would you give him a chance over here? And the same thing. We're trying to do what's best for the person we're serving. If we're not the right fit, then let's find the right fit for you. But it's not the street.
We did a podcast a while back also with Youth Emergency Services.
Yes, they do great work.
Which focus on teenagers that are homeless.
It's a growing population. We're seeing it on the street, in street ministry. We're seeing it in our shelters. The number of kids that are aging out of foster care with their garbage bag is overwhelming.
I think the Health and Human Services let these people down in that, they're in a foster home, which is a tough situation to begin with. But then all of a sudden it's like, oh, hey, happy birthday, get out, you're on your own now without a support system. And that's got to be very tough for the majority of these kids.
You realize, we have a lot of systems within the government that are broken. Not just broken, but need to be rehauled, scrapped, and started over. Not just DHHS, not just Department of Education, but HUD, Department of Agriculture. I mean, there's a lot of wasted money and a lot of programs that aren't efficient. And it's overwhelming. I get asked to be on a lot of task force and speak a lot. I'm at a point now in my life where I just need to focus on where I can make the most change.
Mm-hmm. Veteran homelessness.
Yeah, 30%.
Is a big issue.
It is. It's one of the 6 common factors. 30% of our population are veterans, and they've served our country. And one of our most touching events is our Salute to the Red, White, and Blue, when we have the ROTC come in, and we have Offutt, and we have just the folding of the flag. And for one moment, our veterans get a lapel pin pinned on them. They get to say their name, how many years they served, what branch. You can just see the pride. But we do have more veterans in America that are experiencing homelessness than we had casualties in the Vietnam War. And that should not be, Tom. That should not be.
Primarily PTSD and mental health issues?
Yes, undetected until they've come home. And then, the families start to break down, veterans become isolated, and the mental health becomes worse.
You'd mentioned that Omaha is like the fastest growing homeless population in the country right now.
Unsheltered homeless.
Unsheltered, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
we have the largest population of unsheltered homeless men, women, and children in America today, right now.
Like per capita, or?
Yeah, in America, per capita, yes.
Yeah. Is unsheltered the better term than homeless, or?
Well, unsheltered means they are still experiencing homelessness, but they don't have a proper shelter. So they're living in uninhabitable places. Maybe it is a homeless encampment. Maybe it's a broken down vehicle or a running vehicle. It could be a crack alley. It could be a garbage dumpster, where we just almost had a man crushed that was seeking, during our 5 days of cold blue, he was seeking shelter in a dumpster. And thank goodness that management waste company heard that man in the dumpster. That would be a precious soul lost, just like the lady who died in Carter Lake in a tent. And
she was, the media reports, I don't want to say they made her out to be a hero, but they made her out to be like a homeless advocate and that. And
I think she was doing the best she could for her family.
Yeah.
I think we forget that it's a pretty tight community when they have these homeless encampments, and it does become a family. And I think she was the matriarch of that homeless encampment. And I think she was doing the very best she could for them and herself. We've had served her for many years. And it's sad. It's heartbreaking for us, Tom, when we see a precious soul lost.
You say you served her for many years, which means that she never quite got out of the cycle.
Never. Not that I'm aware of.
And then there was another issue where there been many issues where the families tried to help, a homeless person trying to bring a homeless, and they...
Every day we have family calling, mothers weeping, what do I do? And they're at loss. They're at a loss of what to do. We have had a lot of support from law enforcement over the years. We are grateful for their compassion that they have. We have the Omaha Police Department that bring people to us for safe shelter. Sheriff Hansen himself brought a young man to us from out west that was living in his car in a Walmart parking lot. A young man had never experienced homelessness before, but his car broke down. And so it does take us together, working together, to solve the issue.
We had a really nasty cold streak. You mentioned the person that almost died in the dumpster and the woman that did die in the tent due to the cold streak. I would imagine that when that happens, you see a real influx.
We were in overflow. We're still in overflow.
You've only got so much room. Yeah, what do you do in that situation?
We have been in overflow for a number of months. Code blue for 5 days. I don't recall it ever being that cold for that many days in a row. And that was brutal. And we just opened the doors wider. Warming shelters need to be addressed. We don't need warming shelters during the day, Tom. We need them in the evening when when the sun goes down. We're open 24/7, 365. So when I say we're in overflow, we're in overflow. All of our beds are full. We have mattresses on the floor. We brought all our cots out. And it was wall-to-wall people for those 5 days.
And then the weather gets nicer and then they go back out on the street?
The weather gets nicer and you have a pipe break.
That's right, you did have a pipe break, didn't you? Yeah.
Oh, that was heartbreaking. We were on a mountaintop experience. A Saturday, we had graduation, cap and gown. We're hearing all of these people's lives being transformed and changed. And we're walking back across campus, and here's water pouring out of my warehouse. Not a glorious day.
Okay, but you mentioned graduation. What do you do about, let's say you've got a domestic violence victim. She leaves with 3 kids, and they're in your shelter. Those kids have got to go to school.
Absolutely.
They got to go to class. They got to, but that's got to be a real shameful thing for them. They got to feel a lot of shame through it's no fault of their own, but it still feels shame as they're going to school and that. Are there counseling services available?
That's for us. If you stay at our shelter, we have a children and youth department, so we have a wraparound service for the whole entire family. Mm-hmm. So within 24 hours, we can have that child back in school where they were going before experiencing homelessness, and they actually are transported in an unmarked van. And so they literally are, and if it's not a van that's unmarked, they'll actually be going in a school bus, and they're actually the first one picked up or the last one home. So we work really hard to make sure that they are protected about where they live from their peers, because kids can be really mean.
Oh, I would imagine so, yeah.
We actually have a tutoring program, so we have hundreds of retired teachers that volunteer their time, but we also have a partnership with Omaha Public Schools. So we have Title I tutors that are on our property every day, 6 days a week, and they're working on an IEP for a child so that they can be successful. If we can have a child in our after-school program or in our summer camp program for 9 months, we can catch them up to their peers.
What do you need from the community? And now when I say you, not just Open Door Mission, but in general, the homeless community, what can people do to help make a difference?
I hope the first thing they want to do is be aware that we have invisible neighbors everywhere on our streets, Tom. We are so plugged into technology that we are driving blindly sometimes. Mm-hmm. And we do have blinders on when we're walking even, and we don't even see. How could a woman sit outside the library with her Walmart bags and 3 children all day and not somebody notice that she was beaten up and sitting there? And it took someone to call us in late afternoon. I think you should check on this lady. How many people walked by her? We really need people to be aware of their surroundings, not just for themselves, but for people who don't have a voice for themselves.
I would think, and I'm not making it, I guess I'm making excuses for the people that walk by, but I would think a lot of these people would walk by and say, I don't know that situation. There's some violence obviously involved.
I don't want to get
involved.
That's why we say well checks. Well checks are great. You can call us, ask for staff on duty, and say, this is what I'm seeing. I'm not sure, but would you mind swinging by? Sometimes we swing by, and it is a serious thing that they really do need help, and they are grateful to have a van pick them up. Other times, they're not happy to see us. And like when I pull up at a stoplight and I'm the first one in line, I know that Butch and Charlie and Chuck, they hate to see my face. And do you know what they do? They turn around. They will literally just turn around their back to me because they are not talking to me.
Are those aren't just names you just pulled out of thin air then, right? These are like homeless people that you know their names and they know you. And
they know me. And I roll down my window and they say, don't hurt our business. Don't talk to us. Not talking to you today, Candace.
Really?
Oh, yeah. They don't want to see me. It's even worse if I pull up on the curb and get out. That's a real downer. But you know what? I love them. I love them. Love your neighbor. Can I say that?
Yeah.
Just love your neighbor. We don't have to be so judgmental. We're a gospel rescue mission, but we love everybody. You can come in. You can look a different way. You can act a different way. And we're going to still serve you and love you. And that's why people are drawn to us. And, I think that if you're in our community, be aware. I think the other one is maybe we're not your passion. That's okay. What is? Because I think if everybody volunteered where their passion was, we'd look a lot different today because our moral compass has gone way the wrong way.
Yeah.
And so maybe it's not people. Maybe it's pets. But whatever your passion is, give back. Maybe it's the trees. I don't know what it is. Figure it out, but make a difference. The other is if you can give of your time to that passion, it'd make a big difference. And then the other is, your discretional income. If you could make a sacrifice of giving up a Scooters or a Starbucks or a fast food, it would make a big difference to a nonprofit.
Yeah. If everybody just does a lot happens.
Absolutely.
What happened to, before the new downtown Riverfront Park,
yes,
the homeless hung out a lot at the Jean Leahy Mall.
Yeah.
Where are they now? What happened? Where do they go when they do the construction? And
they just find other places. They're along the levee. We know where they are.
Yeah, the same thing is true like with like when the College World Series comes to town or Berkshire Hathaway. You don't see as many homeless people on the street. What happens? Where do they put them?
I don't know where they put them. I know where our people are. I know where to find them.
Yeah.
Our street team knows where to find them. They don't want to be seen, so they know when things are coming to town. They move themselves a lot of the time, Tom. They don't want to be a burden to society. They're not asked. That's not their bucket list either. And so oftentimes they remove themselves.
Do they want to be kept alone?
A lot of times they want to be left alone.
Yeah.
They do. You know, we all have different personalities. Some of us are type A, driven. Some of us are behind the scenes, like, let me read a book and have my coffee all day long, and I'll be okay. But, that's no different for our people that are experiencing homelessness either. A lot of personalities.
Let me take a quick break here. One more time, I want to remind people about the fine folks at Havana Garage in the Old Market, where you can go and enjoy a nice cigar, some conversation. If you're a lot going on downtown now, I mentioned the Riverfront Park, but there's also, like I said, the Holland Performing Arts Center. There's a CHI. There's Orpheum. There's something. Plus, maybe you live in the area. A lot of new people moving downtown. Check out Havana Garage in the Old Market and tell them you heard about it on the Becca's Talking podcast. Before I let you go, give a plug here now for the Open Door Mission. People want to make a donation. They want to volunteer. How do they go about doing something like that?
They can visit opendoormission.org and click on our About Us, know a little bit more about us there. Click on the volunteer button and find something that you, your family, maybe can get involved. We have volunteer opportunities on our campus, but we also make it really easy, Tom. You can volunteer in place at your place of worship, at your place of business, in your school. You can actually make sack lunches right where you're at and bring them to us. You can make jars of sunshine for an infirmary. You can make inspirational cards that we give out to people when they're experiencing homelessness. There's ways that you can get involved that are comfortable for everyone.
You mentioned, we were talking about this before the podcast, local radio personality here in town, Big Party.
Yeah.
Started a diaper drive for the Open Door Mission.
Yes.
And like how many years ago was that? What had it been?
I think almost 28 years.
Yeah, and it started
maybe 30. It's been a long time. I mean, when you start something, it doesn't matter what you start. It starts small, and then it just keeps rolling. But, when we started that, it was just 100. And it was a goal to empower women to have diapers for their children, because oftentimes back then we didn't have the right size diapers, and we had to ration diapers. And so, but now that has grown so much that we have over 1 million diapers donated every year for not only the Lydia House, but we have 3 diaper depot programs where working moms can come once every 30 days and get a package of diapers.
And diapers are expensive.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
They're golden.
Yeah. So that's a bit, but it was just one person on the radio, and through his radio broadcast was able to build this up into being quite the event and quite the benefit to the homeless people.
We have been very grateful to our radio and television personalities that have been passionate about areas of our ministry and have joined us in making a difference every year for many years, and we're grateful for the community at large.
Well, it is a problem, and I could not agree with you more about the mental health issue. I mean, our county jail is the number one mental health facility in the area, and that's just criminal.
It is.
Not trying to be cute or anything, but that's criminal. That is the number one mental health facility in the city.
It's criminal to make homelessness being a crime as well, and there's a better way. There is a better way, and we need to work hard together to solve it. There is solutions. All
right. Candace, pleasure talking to you, as always. And like I said, every Tuesday, a brand new podcast with different people. We've also got, if you go to WWT.com, you can go there and you can find a list of all the different podcasts in the audio form, or go to YouTube and see them in the video form, or pretty much on every platform that you have for podcasts, and, of course, YouTube as well. So check it out. Becca's Talking every Tuesday. Candace, thank you very much. And again, thanks to the fine folks at Havana Garage. Havana Garage in the Old Market. Till next week, take care, and bye, y'all.
That went so fast.